This is kind of a continuation from our last video that we talked about with Picasso and Cézanne. I wanted to also loop George Braque into this piece because of his similarities and his connection to Picasso with analytic cubism. Okay, this is called The Portuguese, and this is by George Braque, and this is 1911 oil on canvas. We can immediately see some of the similarities between Picasso and George Braque. So we still have that kind of brownish, black, white, neutral color, shapes, collage. We see what looks like almost newspaper print and newspaper writing. We see lighter colors. We see lots of shapes with lots of pointed edges. But we also see some rounded pieces. So we definitely can notice a collage. We definitely notice different types of values. There's some lines, there's some roundness to it, okay? And this is actually a Portuguese, I believe, guitar player. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of look at this piece and, keep in the back of your mind Picasso and how we just looked at his piece as well, because George Braque and Picasso really worked together within this movement of creating this type of abstract art. So in this canvas, everything was fractured. And that's really a key word when looking at this analytic cubist pieces, fractured. It looks like it's a piece of glass that was taken, dropped on the floor, and fractured into millions of little pieces with rough edges, sharp spots. And I want you to keep that kind of word in mind as you look at Braque's pieces. The guitar player and the dock was just so many pieces of broken form. So yes, I was right. The Portuguese is a Portuguese guitar player sitting on a dock. Okay? It's almost broken glass, like I just said. By breaking these objects into smaller elements, Braque and Picasso are able to overcome the unified singularity of an object. It's not just one object that you're painting, one person sitting on one dock. It's breaking this person up into multiple small elements. Okay, so you're you're transforming it into an object of vision. Okay. George Braque was at the forefront of the revolutionary art movement of Cubism. Braque's work throughout his life really focused on still lifes and means of viewing objects, so different ways of viewing objects. While his collaboration with Pablo Picasso and their Cubist works are best known, Braque had a long painting career that continued beyond Cubism. Braque was often dedicated to quiet periods in his studio rather than to be a personality in the art world. And when we think of Pablo Picasso, we think of more of a personality within the art world. He began developing a Cubist style after meeting Pablo Picasso. While their paintings shared many similarities in palette, style, and subject matter, Braque stated that unlike Picasso, his work was devoid of iconical commentary. So it was really, there was no icon commentary. There's no figural commentary. It was concerned purely with pictorial space and composition and taking the pieces that would develop into an actual object and just breaking them up to create space and composition. Braque sought balance and harmony in his compositions, especially through papier collage, a pasted paper collage technique that Picasso and Braque invented in 1912. Braque, however, took collage one step further by gluing up advertisements into his canvases. This foreshadowed modern art movements concerning with critiquing media, such as pop art. So Barak really laid the foreground for a lot of abstract expressionist work, and obviously pop art as well, using commercial art, using media, newspapers, magazine articles, and things like that, and transferring them into a work of art. So here you can see some of his drawings, some of his newspaper prints and magazine prints, and how they are kind of creating a sense of composition, adding together many different elements at the time. So Barak stenciled letters onto paintings. He blended pigments with sand and copied wood grain and marble to achieve great levels of dimension in his paintings. His depictions of still lifes are so abstract that they border on becoming patterns that express an essence of an object rather than the actual representation of an object. So here we can see a still life, and again, there's more patterns, there's more shapes, there's more edges, and there's an expression of the essence of an object, but we can't really see or tell what the object is. So one of the biggest things with Barak is letting you know that he was in connection with Pablo Picasso, and they really developed this movement together. You can definitely see a lot of similarities between their works. So this is looking back at one of Picasso's earlier pieces with George Barak, and again using that monochromatic brownish neutral colors. And they took apart and analyzed the shapes and the pieces of this. So there's definitely a lot of similarities on this with the use of collage and everything like that, as we see, as this is Picasso's painting. As I'm going to scroll through, and I'm sorry, I'm scrolling through. I stopped it before, but as then we see in the Portuguese. So again, very, very similar elements that are put together on a canvas together. And as we're moving forward through our artistic movements, we're going to see how a lot of this cubism and how a lot of the collage really make an impact on the art world, and how it changes things and what's going on in the world and society at the time of all of this change.